This movie is the perfect encapsulation for Jesse Eisenberg's career in my eyes. Watching you is like dating a stairmaster.
Nice read,
His date
Velma.
says dating you is like dating a stairmaster. That's exactly what, it's exactly what he brings to the table. And honestly, he was the most perfect person for this because I hated him the whole way through.
Yeah,
He was like a little autistic alien.
yeah, he definitely was perfect casting to play Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, from the get-go.
But I mean, I hated him though. That's why his casting was perfect for me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the first scene in the movie is so awful and cringy to me. I just like if we weren't reviewing this, I probably would have turned it off. Like it's just so, cunty. The
Yes.
beginning scene. And I mean,
What
it's
does he say to her? He says, "The only reason why we're sitting here is because you slept with the doorman."
well, he's talking about the doorman and how she fucked him, and she's like, "No, I just know that guy," and it encapsulates perfectly how insecure he is as a man. Just like he just has this massive insecurity.
Yeah. Who was that girl?
Yep.
I feel like I recognized
That's
her.
Rooney Mara, who was the girl
Okay.
with dragon tattoo.
Girl with dragon tattoo and
Yeah.
various other things.
But the ending line of that scene that she says, it's the last line before the.
Oh yeah, that was. I wrote that down. That was perfect.
You're an
That was
asshole.
exactly how I felt about him.
Okay, you are probably going to be a very successful computer person. You're going to go through life thinking that girls don't like you because you're a nerd. And I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that that won't be true. It'll be because you're an asshole.
Yeah, you're an asshole. That's really the main point of the movie. You're an asshole.
The movie we saw,
Yeah.
Salem's Lot, the 1970s version, directed by Tobe Hooper. Oh wait, David Fincher's The Social Network. So overall, what are your immediate impressions of this 10-year-old film?
Well, that's actually the good point, is that this movie will be 10 years old on October 1st. And I'm sure you probably had the same kind of feeling when this came out, which was like, oh God, the Facebook movie, really, David Fincher? You sold out and made the Facebook. He doesn't make a lot of movies like yearly, so it's kind of like, okay, I'm making my movie, but I just I've avoided this movie for really just basically the full 10 years, and after watching it, yeah, I might as well. It's a boring kind of bland movie. It feels, I feel like I could have just read an article and I would have got the gist.
So you're not a big fan?
You know what I mean? No, I'm not a big fan of this movie.
I didn't love. I'm sorry, I didn't love this movie, but I kind of liked it. It kept going at a smooth pace. I really liked the depositions as a framing device.
Yeah, that is what I liked the most, was the deposition scenes. And honestly, I would have preferred to watch 12 Angry Men. I would have rather watched kind of like a 12 Angry Men version of this movie that was in the deposition room.
Okay.
Just like a 90-minute version. I think of just him and Eduardo, just specifically them two, focusing on that. That to me, I think, is when the movie really clicks, when they're just staring across from each other at
the ending scene. Andrew Garfield. I wrote this down too. Andrew Garfield's ending scene. We'll spare you the exact quote till later. I really like Andrew Garfield. This, Under the Silver Lake, something else he's been in that I saw. Doesn't matter.
I really liked him in Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge. That's right. Sorry.
Yeah, he's good. He's talented. At first I was very skeptical on him as an actor because of Amazing Spider-Man, but he's a lot better than.
All right, so one of my main points of this is this really reminded me of Gone Girl, just in the, the production aspects, not plot or narrative or anything, but just all the details are there. The pacing is very good. Acting is very good. It's just like you said, though. The story doesn't really appeal to me. Like the Winklevoss twins, you're already gonna be worth like $1 billion. I don't really care whether you get screwed by Mark Zuckerberg or not.
Right. Well, I mean, the whole point of them was to show, like what Mark Zuckerberg says is the only reason why they even care is because this is the first time they never got what they want. That's kind of the whole thing with them. It's like, because it looks amazing.
Yeah,
like
there's never really a second where I'm good. Like, oh yeah, that's definitely CGI face.
Yeah. No, and Armie Hammer is good. Like I'm not a fan of him really, but he was good in the movie. He played the role well.
He was in that movie where people get turned into horses, wasn't he?
Yeah, Sorry to Bother You. He was good in that, and I liked him in Free Fire, which is a little crime movie.
Okay.
Which is on Netflix. He was good in that.
One thing I do have to say is if anybody under the caliber of like Fincher or somebody else in that vein, I feel like this would be on the same level as a Lifetime movie, even though the acclaimed Aaron Sorkin wrote it.
Yeah, I mean, this could come off as, even though it was bland to me, it could come across, very Lifetime movie if you don't have a really good filmmaker, using the, putting this to the screen, for sure.
What are some things you disliked?
Well, honestly, it's funny you brought up Gone Girl because I did notice those similarities you were talking about with, on a technical level, the color correction. It's this kind of piss yellow.
Yeah.
And Fincher has this obsession with this piss yellow, and I really don't like that. I don't like the look of it, and it's his career is kind of split up into two halves for me, and this is, I didn't see Benjamin Button, but this is kind of like the next evolution for him of like he likes things done a certain way. The cinematographer he's that's his main guy now, this Jeff Cronenworth or whatever, and I don't think he's as exciting of a filmmaker as he was, like from Zodiac
Fight Club days.
Yeah, which the guy who shot this did shoot Fight Club, and this was the first movie that they made after together, because Fincher was working with other cinematographers, but this does not have any of the visual style of Fight Club or anywhere. If someone said, "Oh, yeah," so that is just it looked kind of bland to me. You don't like anyone and you're not supposed to. I get that. That's the whole point, really. Maybe you want to sympathize with Andrew Garfield, but even then, it's like, it's just a bunch of Ivy League kind of fuckboys. It's tough to really relate to these people in any way. I didn't really love the acting, honestly. I think, like you said, Jesse Eisenberg, he did what he was supposed to. The only person I actually really liked was Justin Timberlake as Sean Parker.
I know, I was surprised too. As soon as I remembered he was in it, I shuddered, at least for a moment, because it's not that I hate him or anything, it's just every time I see him as an actor, it just, I don't know, I just can't get past, oh, that's just Justin Timberlake.
Right. Yeah, but he really did nail the role. I was surprised. He was a lot better than I thought he would be. He had some really good lines in the movie, and he really played the part well. And I had no idea that Sean Parker was involved in Facebook. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
And it's heavily implied that, because they constantly bring up like the age of girls around him, that possibly he had some type of maybe I don't know, statutory
or
type of
pedophilia
case.
controversy at some point.
Yeah, prior to him even being at Facebook. Like, it's because the first scene we have of him, he says to the girl from 50 Shades of Grey, I can't remember her name right now. He says, wait, are you 15? And you're kind of like, wait, what? Why would he even say that?
First, he says, like, he doesn't go to school or something. And she's like, wait, you're 18, right? Or you're not, like, 14?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
You're not 14, are you?
Right. Yeah, that really, that's weird. And, he plays a scummy character, but
Yeah.
I really did like him in the movie. I thought he was
I did
good.
too. One of the things I enjoyed about this picture was almost immediately I could tell it'd be, like I said, sort of similar to like a Lifetime movie. You're just dropped into this world of, rich pricks and assholes, and it's like, all right, soak in the drama, get ready for 2 hours of first world problems.
Yeah. It's tough to relate to that. I mean, listen, there's lots of great movies out there that you can, enjoy. That's has nothing to do with your life or people's lives. But I couldn't connect to the movie. It's a very cold movie too. It's just like it's about
that comes with the territory. People. It's like a court.
Yeah,
I want to say courtroom dramas are cold, but I've seen plenty where there's some heart there, like The Verdict, a Paul Newman movie, the Harrison Ford one where he gets accused of murder. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Presumed Innocent.
Presumed Innocent. There you go.
Yeah. But
yeah, very cold, very distant. We're like flies on the wall, just watching this all happen.
Yeah. How did you feel about the editing of the movie? Because this won an Oscar for editing, and honestly, I was kind of confused by that.
What about the editing was poor in your eyes? It never really crossed my mind while watching it.
Well, that's the thing, is that it didn't. I mean, I guess it's seamless, but nothing about it seemed spectacular to the point where I was like, okay, yeah, this is so well edited. This should get an Oscar. I did not get that at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't think that either, but it all comes down to what else was nominated, who was pushing for what to win what. I don't give a shit about the Oscars, frankly.
Yeah.
Since 1968, and Stanley Kubrick got screwed by goddamn Francis Ford Coppola and The Godfather.
Yeah. Well, didn't The Godfather win in like 71 or 72?
As soon as I said that, I was like, I think I'm mistaken.
That's off. Yeah,
all I know is 2001: A Space Odyssey, Oscar-less. As far as, Stanley Kubrick is Oscar-less as far as best director or best film.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, he never won anything. And there's a very long list of great people who've never won.
It took Scorsese like 40 goddamn years to win one, and it was a ripoff of a South Korean movie.
Yeah. I mean,
listen, I Departed just fine, but it is essentially just a ripoff of Infernal Affairs.
Well, I mean, it's an official remake. I mean, they paid.
Yeah. But if the story's so good, how come Infernal Affairs was nominated for Best Foreign Picture Oscar?
Yeah, I mean, they're very different films. I mean, the basic gist is different, but I prefer The Departed to Infernal Affairs. I've seen it.
I've only seen Infernal Affairs once. Seen The Departed, I don't know, 10 times maybe, somewhere around there.
Well, I mean, that proves kind of your point. I mean, it's a super rewatchable, slick movie. You know what I mean? So
also, I don't have access to Infernal Affairs. I bought The Departed on HD DVD years ago.
Oh wow, HD DVD.
Once again, I backed the wrong goddamn format.
Yeah, you would have been to tie it back to the Social Network, you would have been the guy who sold Victoria's Secret for $4 million and then jumped off the bridge.
Yes.
That was a great scene with Justin Timberlake in the club.
That's what people bring this. I know we're not the first people to bring this up, but just when they're in the club, there's loud music. They have to shout back and forth. It just shows the forethought that David Fincher has.
Yeah, that is the scene that, like you were talking about before, about Lifetime movie, that a lesser director would have never had a scene like that in the movie.
Or if they did, they would have just plugged in. They would have recorded the dialogue, and then they would have just plugged in some club music later on.
Right. Yeah. No. That I really liked that scene a lot. That might have been my favorite scene.
My favorite was Andrew Garfield's confrontation. With that being said, you're going to give this a pass for the spoilerless crowd?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how much to spoil, but I honestly, even if you're like obsessed with Facebook, which there's a lot of people obsessed with Facebook, and it's
mostly
been 10
moms
years.
And unwed women with 90 cats.
But it's kind of a pass for me. I it's an hour 55 without the credits, and it's pretty bland to me for the most part. I think it's a skip.
Even with it being bland, I would say at least worth one watch. David Fincher,
right?
Some good acting. That's really all I'm looking for in a movie these days.
Yeah, I would never watch it again ever. Honestly.
No, I don't know if I will either. I mean, if I'm desperate and it's still on Netflix or Hulu or something, and I really have nothing else to watch, maybe.
Yeah, you'd recommend it.
Yeah, I'd recommend it at least once.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of people throughout the years say like, "Oh yeah, this should have won Best Picture. This is a masterpiece." And I just I
wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people say it's a perfect movie, and I think that's all ridiculous. Like, it's well made. There's good acting. I mean, the score is great. I really like the score, which Trent Reznor did. I'm a Nine Inch Nails. I've been a fan of Nine Inch Nails for a long time, and this is the first movie that they collaborated on, him and Fincher, and they won an Oscar, for the score. And it's really good. It does stand out, and that is one of the things where it's like, I guess it's kind of like a slight recommendation if just like if you're obsessed with music, like if you're a Nine Inch Nails fan and stuff. But then I could just say, well, just listen to the soundtrack. You don't really need to see the movie. So
yeah.
No, I was just like, well, what did you want to spoil about the movie? What did you were talking about the Andrew Garfield confrontation scene.
Spoiler section. That was my favorite scene in the film. Here's the skinny. Mark Zuckerberg was a scumbag. He screwed those two Winklevoss twins out of their piece of the pie, which I wasn't too upset about. They're kind of douchebags.
Yeah. Right.
But he has his friend Andrew Garfield with him the entire time, working his ass off, putting money into the business, and then he just cuts him out as soon as Sean Parker gets involved. I'm not coming back for 30%. You better lawyer up, asshole.
Beth, what you hated the most is that they identified me as a co-founder of Facebook, which I am. You better lawyer up, asshole, because I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. His speech was great. And when Sean Parker says to Andrew Garfield, like, oh no, he's wired in. He's like, oh really? And then he just picks up his like fucking MacBook and smashes it. He's like, you wired in now? But that was like Garfield's big scene, and he really did nail that. He was great in that, and he was good. He was really good in the deposition scenes. It's just that a lot of the scenes of the colleges, like with the Asian chick and stuff, I'm just like, oh, can we get away from this? This is so fucking boring. You know, I couldn't stand anything. Anything at the college, I was just like bored out of my fucking mind, honestly.
Until he started ducking the twins. Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you there. I don't really give a shit about your relationship with Rooney Mara. But then again, it was the catalyst for Facebook, I guess.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's true. I thought that, you know, that was weird. But what spoilers did you want to get into?
The speech. The movie is really it's kind of doesn't know which lane it wants. Like, it's painting the entire time Mark Zuckerberg as an asshole, but then at certain points, like his lawyer, he says to the Winklevoss twins and the Indian guy, like they had a resume or something and said they're a movie star, and that lawyer's like, who's a movie star?
Well, yeah, I actually looked that up, and it was Natalie Portman. She was at Harvard at the time. She was the first movie star that was on Facebook, because she was there from like 99 to 2003 or something like that.
Yeah.
And she actually had dinner and spoke to Aaron Sorkin multiple times about what was happening at the time.
Do you know Natalie Portman's real last name?
No.
It's like Hirschlag or something like that.
Hirschlag, Jesus.
For real.
It's a good thing she changed it then.
Yes.
For her movie career.
That and the book. I didn't really like Rashida Jones in this movie. Almost every time she spoke, it just felt like again, I watched the entirety of The Office. I watched the entirety of Parks and Rec. Both not good shows. I needed something to kill time. But every time she spoke, that's all I could see is just sitcom comedy.
Yeah, I didn't really mind her. I kind of agree with you, though. I mean, she wasn't that great. And I really don't like the last line of the movie, which is
it would have been perfect if she just said, "You are an asshole." It would have made the perfect bookend.
Absolutely, yeah. She says, "You're not an asshole, Mark. You're just trying so hard to be." That's the last line. And I was like, no, that's bullshit. But I mean, I guess why, because she was sitting on his side of the table. You know what I mean? She was.
Yeah, but you're a lawyer. You don't have any perspective. You don't have any real intuition about how this whole story is unfolding.
Right. Yeah. It just, going back, it reminded me of, like, it parallels like the beginning and the end of Gone Girl. You know what I mean? Like, it does kind of like the same thing. I think that's a motif that he's interested in.
We ended up exactly where we started at, sort of.
Right. Yeah, kind of. A slight variation. But that really didn't sit well with me. I mean, I did like the scene at the end where he just keeps refreshing the page. He's just staring at the screen, kind of like almost rocking, and keep hitting the refresh button because he's
like an autistic man.
Yeah. Yeah, that... I did like that. I think that's kind of that is kind of a perfect, you know, encapsulation on Mark Zuckerberg, you know.
At least if this movie has its way.
Yeah. But I mean, once again, it's like, I knew, you know, prior to seeing this movie, I was like, I already knew Mark Zuckerberg was an asshole. You know, I mean, I had heard, I didn't know the specifics of him fucking over business partners. I mean, in 2018, there was that weird, bizarre Senate hearing video. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I've seen clips. I never watched the whole thing.
Just a sec. Mom, could you get me my Frodo ring? I want it here.
Yeah, that was super weird. Even last year, there was that weird VR Facebook video that was going around of him showing Puerto Rico in VR. And, you know, you're seeing just all, like, the destruction of Puerto Rico, and he's just like laughing in VR, and it's like, what the fuck is happening right now, dude? What are you doing? You're a sociopath. You know,
that's what it takes to get to the top.
Yeah, well, you know, he, you know, we breed people like Mark Zuckerberg here in America, and they benefit greatly. He knew how to get his piece of the pie.
The score, there was only one problem with the score for me. There was a point where I think it's called Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies was incorporated, and it just...
Really?
It went on too long. And plus, come on, Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies. But it could be thematic, I guess, if you want to see these guys as sugar plum fairies.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. That sounding kind of, wasn't that like in the Nutcracker or something like that?
Yeah.
Some type of, something like that. I did want to ask you, there's a line that one of the girls says at the college when Facebook is like super, super early. She says, I hope that, cats that look like Hitler. She says, I love seeing pictures online of cats that look like Hitler. And I was
I do remember that.
Yeah, I was like, because that was in like 2003, 2004. And it's like, I don't remember, because I was in high school then. And I was just like, I don't remember anyone, the early stage of like memes or whatever. I was like, I don't remember that going around. Was that a thing back then? You remember
I don't
that?
know. I didn't have my own computer. I would just use it was like it used to be. There'd be like a family computer in one room of the house and everybody would use it.
Right. But even like at school or anything like that, you'd go to like computer lab, remember?
I went to a city school, my friend. We had no computer lab class. I doubt we had a computer lab at all.
Really? Jesus. I went to public school, man. We had a computer lab. But I wanted to ask you, because the end of the movie they have the text and stuff. I looked it up, because Eduardo, he signed there wasn't a disclosure of how much he got.
Yeah.
How much do you think he really got? You know what I mean? Because
I'm betting
I looked it up.
15%.
Well, see, that's the thing, is I looked it up, and the only thing I could find was that they said maybe 4 to 5%, but
yeah, it's better than the 0.3 they were offering him.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that I've in 2012 he got like $2 billion just in stock profit. So
think about it, man. 5% of like a service used by 500 million people.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that in the 10 years since this movie, because 10 years ago they had 500 million users. Now it says that they have 2.6 billion.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Which is just, when you think about how many people are on this planet, I mean, 2.6 billion. I mean, that's like a third of the population. Yeah, a third of our world has Facebook, which is just it's insane when you think about it. I mean, there's a line even in this movie, I think it was like about Bosnia, that I think Rashida Jones says they don't have roads, but they have Facebook.
I don't remember that, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Rashida Jones says, Bosnia doesn't even have roads, but they have Facebook. And then Jesse Eisenberg just kind of like stares at her, kind of like smarmy looking, That was kind of
picturing his dumb autistic alien face. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is that, Mark Zuckerberg, definitely, he has that, like, on the spectrum. He's definitely got to be on the spectrum or something, because he is so fucking just bizarro. Like, there's something so fucking weird about that dude.
Did you like any of the kind of one-liners that he had in this movie?
One-liners.
Okay, no. You don't think I deserve your attention?
I think if your clients want to sit on my shoulders and call themselves tall, they have a right to give it a try, but there's no requirement that I enjoy sitting here listening to people lie. You have part of my attention. You have the minimum amount.
Yeah, that scene was the best scene for Jesse Eisenberg, when he was like, oh, it's raining outside. And then he's like, you don't deserve my attention, and that was when he had the line about they're only suing me because they didn't win. And that, I thought Jesse Eisenberg was really great in that scene. That was that would probably be my favorite line, was like, you don't deserve my full attention. You only deserve the minimum amount. That was a good line.
All right. Any other glaring positives or glaring negatives for you on this one?
I mean, I mean, honestly, the only thing that I could bring up is just like, I'm sad that this is where David Fincher wants to be creatively. I mean, I think like even his newest movie that's gonna come out this year, his dad wrote the screenplay. It's called Mank. It's Mank. It's about the screenwriter who made Citizen Kane, and I just don't know why he's doing these like biopic-y kind of style films that just, I mean, they feel like kind of like a procedural. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like an episode of Law and Order or something.
Yeah, and I wish that this isn't. I wish that his career was going in different places. I mean, he was attached to like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and he wanted to do it just like the book with like, French actors and stuff. And I thought, okay, that would be like really interesting to see him do something like that, creatively. But nobody wants to give him that much money.
That does sound pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, that sounds pretty fucking awesome to me. And I think he wanted to have Brad Pitt in it. I'm sad that, I guess this is where he's at creatively. This is where he's happy. But I think his best years are behind him. He's talented, but I'm not excited by what he's doing really creatively.
You want something with a little more panache, a little more excitement, like you said.
Right. I haven't watched his show Mindhunter. I've heard great things about it, so I will put the asterisk on that. But Gone Girl is to me a lot better than this. I didn't love Gone Girl, but I would much rather rewatch Gone Girl, and I could see myself rewatching Gone Girl, or even The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I could see myself rewatching that. But
it's a little bit more going on.
Yeah, there's more going on. It's more interesting, but I don't know. How do you feel about what Fincher's been doing for the last 10 years?
I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I can recognize they're executed extremely well.
He's a perfectionist.
But the stories, maybe, I don't have that much of an interest in. Like I said, this movie, it works. I liked it to some extent, but here's why my recommendation comes with a little trepidation. The entire time, like I said earlier, you're trying to paint Mark Zuckerberg as an asshole, but you also give him these little jabs, these little moments where you're trying to downplay or make the twins or Eduardo look bad. You know what I mean? It's a little too manipulative. We're either trying to portray him as the asshole he is, or we're trying to portray him as the good guy in this story. You got to pick one. Right.
Yeah. It does kind of ride the fence. At the beginning, you're like, okay, Fincher is making a strong statement. This guy's an asshole. And then it kind of cops out at the end today, where it's like, okay, well, how do you really feel, David? It's like, how do you really feel? Is he an asshole to you? Do you think he's an asshole? Because you're just kind of leaving it up in the air at the end today, and I didn't like that.
The perfect ending would be Rashida Jones just saying, "Mark, you are an asshole, but like you're the richest you're the youngest billionaire to ever exist."
Right, but you're still an asshole. Something like that. Yeah.
Do you know who one of the producers of this film was?
No.
I'm telling you, it's Kaiser Sose.
Kevin Spacey?
Yes.
He was a producer?
I'm imagining this came out around the time, or they produced this right around the time that show House of Cards blew up, which I watched the first season. I wasn't really a big fan of.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch that show.
All right. This is how we awkwardly end this talk. Go fuck yourselves. Suck on my dick.